Looks good.
All right, good stuff. Let's get started. This is, I suppose, the formal introduction to today, to the Marathon Live, a little bit about Wada, about our progress, what we've been up to, etc. What I had at the beginning was the 5 minute presentation I did on the town hall before Fund 3, and that went through a little bit more of the details. So if you haven't watched the Fund 3 presentation already, I would suggest going to the Wada YouTube and watching that maybe before some of the other sessions or when there's a break. It's very short, that might help you get a better understanding if you aren't that familiar with what we do. So on a high level, WADA gives a voice to young people of African heritage by providing them the tools to sort of liberate themselves from financial and technological burdens that they find themselves under, entrenched due to the current economic model. And this is done with a focus on decentralization, self-organization, and distributive governance. The three pillars of WADA are education, dApp creation, and infrastructure. So now we're going to get into it. And if there are any questions, just put them in the chat and hopefully we can get those to me. Someone can find a way to send that information to me. Okay. So this is what we discussed before in terms of how the day is going to go. And yeah, we already really explained that. So let's continue. Okay, so this is the format for today. Interactive panel discussions, hopefully telling stories of everyone that's come to WADA, the plans that we have for the future, if there's any Cardano news, and also blockchain in Africa. So we can open up the discussion generally for that also. These are some very basic rules of WADA. Ask all the questions that you can, be very curious, make bold statements. That comes from Mercy. Be inclusive. So we always want to be open to anyone who wants to collaborate, but more than that, anyone, right? Anyone, no matter sort of who you are, you can be part of this and you can be part of the discussion. But we also celebrate differences. So it might seem like a contradiction, but it makes sense to us. And the more you get to know how we work in terms of operating as autonomously as we can while allowing collaboration to take precedent, you begin to understand that a bit better. So we'd like to invite all the friends of WADA to participate in the show. Also, if you send your transaction ideas across, we'll get you a dialing code if any people who are in the first 50 are watching, and they can come and talk a little bit about themselves throughout the day. We'll also be repeating this on the hour, so people that just drop in can get this information. So it might seem like we're repeating ourselves if you're watching all day, but it's kind of like a radio show in that way. So it won't be too much of a surprise. Okay, so this is some of the WADA wins so far, what we have in terms of our advisors, the stake pool sponsors that we're connecting with, the 4 country hubs with sort of 15 developers sort of in our network, a major sponsorship with BEN, which is the Blockchain Education Network, which is looking at connecting the various universities with blockchain programs, and they're looking to release, Cardano specific programs, maybe Haskell and Plutus in the near future, and we will be part of that. In terms of a growing brand, what we have at WADA, just in terms of getting our name out there, doing interviews like we did on Cardano Live very recently, we're growing in that aspect as well. But I think the main point of the last 2, in terms of how we've been working over the last 6 or 7 months that we've been in operation, this has just been the hard work of myself, Mercy, Megan Manfo, and everyone else actually that's involved in WADA. They've just been contributing their time, not really having any expectations, or with the expectations that funding will come eventually, which we will move on to now. Right, so this is about our proposal in Fund 3 and everything that we were working towards in terms of the presentation I did, which was the build up towards the Fund 3, which came out, quite recently, in fact, just over a week ago, I think. Yeah, so Fund 3 results were through. We didn't get the funding that we sort of built up over those 6 or 7 months, which was, quite unfortunate, let's say, since we missed out by only about 3,000. And what happened and why is an important discussion to have. And I think maybe some other people might be chiming in on this as the day progresses. But essentially, there wasn't enough in the pot, right? So there was about, what was it, 45,000 left in the pot. And then due to how Catalyst works, there wasn't enough. Even though we actually got the votes, there wasn't enough left for us to get funded. And it's actually an interesting story of why the budget was what it was, is that since we had a growing network and we're bringing more people in, our original budget was for 27,000, but we bumped it up to 31,885 because we were introducing these new hubs that needed, a little bit of support, and that unfortunately pushed us over the edge. So you could say suffering from success, as they say. But let's probably move on. So as a Catalyst and everything going on there, we can maybe even have another try. So this was the Wada Foundation that we came into being through Gary Golden, and Rick's support also brought our heads together and thought, okay, how can we figure it out? How can we get the people the support they need just to get them over the line until they start to fund their own projects? So as I explained in the Fund 3 video, what Wada is looking to do is become self-sufficient as quickly as possible. We're not looking for handouts. We're not looking to rely on anyone else. But while we kickstart with these projects, we will need support from the Cardano community, from Catalyst, in terms of our Cardano specific projects. And I think that's quite reasonable. So this was the Fund 50, first 50 kickoff. And we had a lot of support, a lot of people coming through. The campaign was supposed to last, I believe, around 2 weeks. And this marathon live was supposed to be almost the launch of that, and us really going through the whole day, 12 hours or 25K, and really explaining why this funding is needed, who is involved, and who the people behind Wada are. Because I think some people in Wada like to work behind the background, right? as you might have noticed. But we're very happy as well to talk to the community. We're very open people. So if you want to talk with us or you want to communicate, we'll also have a link to our website, and maybe we can drop some emails as well. It's Josh at Wada Alliance, Mercier1 at Wada Alliance, Megan at WadaAlliance.org also. So yeah, special mention, second time to Rick and Gary for really being the champions Wada needed in its darkest hour. But as they say, it's always darkest just before Twitter decides to pick up a cause and run with it. So run with it they did. Okay, so we got the funding. So it took about 30 hours and we raised 25K ADA. So that was a big surprise, a welcome surprise to us to find out the Cardano community was very behind us, in the instance. It was just a breakdown in the Catalyst methodology, if you will, that meant we didn't get the funding, but support was definitely there, and people have really shown that. So these are the outcomes, right? 50 new friends of Wada that we have. And again, this projects that we're launching through the campaign or through the foundation campaign will be the metadata, and also Wada State Pool, which will be coming soon. In terms of this slide, I've darkened it slightly because we should all take it with a heavy pinch of salt. We can't make any promises at this stage how that 25K is actually going to fund all these activities, but we're doing our best to kickstart them. That's why we have laid them out as we have. But as I said, I've darkened them just so you know that we're looking at portioning them where we can for the biggest effect. This is one that we have already started working on, and the 25K will help a lot, is the website Rebrand. So at the moment, it's about getting clarity on the core message, a professional design, and also join us. So if anyone wants to become a member of Wada, at the moment, we're manually onboarding. So we're having these Google Meet conversations, these Zoom conversations, but what we'll be doing is we'll be embedding a form onto the website where you can just click it, run through some details, and that will put you straight into the system. We'll also be launching the podcast and YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel at the moment just with my video on there, but in the future it's going to have Manfo doing discussions. It's going to have Sydney being involved. It's going to have Gwendol from POA being involved, and also myself, and we'll be covering a number of issues. broad across Africa, across Cardano, and even wider. So a few people have been asking about the foundation program. So again, it's darkened. As you get to know my presentation style, you get to know this darkened means, bring your salt bags. We have heavy bags out there, but make sure one of them is filled to the brim with salt, because people come with a lot of expectations that maybe first aren't verified by Wada. And even if it is verified, this is a constantly evolving process. No one person speaks for Wada. That's why decentralized is such a big part of the name, but we're doing our best to figure it out, as we can. One of the main program elements, of course, will be at least the monthly meetups with all the foundation members. So we have the first 50 at the moment. We'll be reaching out, we'll be contacting them. As I said, the metadata project in Fund 5 will be part of this, how we actually communicate with the members through understanding the metadata and the transaction IDs also. And then we'll be creating the foundation program, sort of co-creating it with them, and find out how they want to contribute, what ideas they have, and how we really start to build this from the ground up. This is the membership scheme that we're currently sort of developing in terms of onboarding new members who will be part of this resource network. So if you think about Wada in 3 stages, you have the startup phase where we are now in terms of just trying to kickstart projects. You then have the resource network phase, which is phase 2. And this is where, it was almost going to take 6 months, but we've been accelerated through all the support, which is fantastic, where members are able to communicate with each other in terms of resources they have, resources they need, in terms of different Cardano businesses were built on top of Cardano, and how they can actually collaborate. Instead of all creating similar projects, we can actually all come to agreements about this. The next phase would be sort of the decentralized organization that we're looking to create. And I think that can probably wait until a bit later, since we can discuss that when closer to the time. But in terms of next steps, we are going to have proposal workshops. So for people that want to build on top of Cardano, people that want to submit to Catalyst, we're going to have workshops for you. We're going to have a community advisors sort of guide on how you become a community advisor. We're going to have dev hangouts, panel discussions, and again, the YouTube is going to be growing. If you want to find out more about the projects, join our Discord. And what we'll be doing is we'll be having the channels all with the different projects, so you can communicate with the developers, with the founders of those projects directly, and also have a central place for knowing everywhere where Wada is involved. But Catalyst, we're not quite done. We're not quite done. So, oops, Fund 4 overview. We are back. We are back. So these are the projects that we're helping in Fund 4 get funded, even though we didn't receive our own funding for Fund 3. Since we've had the foundation scheme come through, we're now able to kickstart the Fund 4 and Fund 5 process, while being supported by everyone from Twitter and Cardano that decided to support us through this next 6 weeks to 3 months. So a lot of these projects get funding from. So at the bottom here, you have, again, sort of the 3 pillars in a way, in terms of the dev tools and events that we're going to be having. So we'll get some links dropped in the chat in terms of the idea scale projects that you can view. You can give kudos, and you can just be familiar with the names, because when voting happens, there's hundreds of proposals now, and it gets very tiring. So just recognize the name, and then when voting starts, we'll probably jump back on with Rick on one of his shows and actually explain a little bit more about the individual projects. But for a high-level overview, this is what we have. I know it's a lot of information, but just take a breath, and we'll go through it some other time. If you want, you can watch back Cardano Live that we did a couple of days ago, and that goes through this in more detail. But essentially, this is the complete proposal set for Fund 4 in terms of our partners, in terms of WADA specific proposals up top. and in terms of the core as well. So, forming our integrated management system is going to be key to the phase 2 that I discussed a little earlier. And also these in red, these are us branching out into Central Africa already. So throughout the conversations in Wada, you'll sometimes hear us refer to ADA, which is sort of the growing network umbrella that we're forming as we begin our connections in Southern Africa and in the East as well, and even in the other regions. So here's a quick preview at Fund 5. We can't speak on this too much just because we're still building in the background, meetings every day, even, every day we say we have 24-hour meetings in Wada. So we are very in the background, but that's only because we are building. And as we build and as we get more established and know what our structure is, we'll be able to share that and are sharing at the moment in terms of what that structure looks like. So again, this metadata Fund 5 proposal will be spoken a little bit more about as the day progresses. I think Mercy's very excited to speak about this, so I'll leave that to her. We have a joint Fund 5 proposal coming in Grow Africa, Grow Cardano. So that's definitely one to look at. And yeah, over the coming weeks and months, we'll talk more about that. We have Africa Source, which will likely be in Fund 5. We haven't confirmed exactly if that will be in Fund 5 or 6, but that will be a proposal focused on African creatives and how they can be connected to Cardano. Okay, so I'm not sure if there's any questions in chat, but I'm about done with my presentation. So if there are, Rick can speak up as I'm sort of giving him the chance to.
Yep, what I'll do is I'll just prompt people. If you do have questions, please post them over in the chat. I will check on that. I put a few links over in the chat and down in the description. I put a link to the YouTube channel that Josh just described. Please feel free to click on that link, check out the channel, subscribe to it, boost their viewership, check out his video. The one we tried to play earlier is available on that channel. Bookmark it for later. Make sure you hit the bell to get notifications and hit that subscribe button on the West Africa Decentralized Alliance YouTube channel because they will be launching more information over there. Below that, I dropped a link to the PALUP application. It is a smartphone application, and it was the first presentation we did here. You can click on that link. It'll take you to IdeaScale and tell you more about the PALUP ride-sharing application. Below that is a link to the West Africa Decentralized Alliance outreach proposal. Check that out. If you're not familiar with IdeaScale, click on those links. Make an account on IdeaScale. I believe you can read the proposal without having to make the account, but you definitely have to make an account to leave feedback. You can leave written feedback and comments for the proposers, and you can leave kudos, which is like an upvote to get more visibility to that particular project. Josh?
That's right. And you will have to log in if you want to give kudos. You will have to register an account. So that's about everything. If there are no questions, I'll just have this slide open how you contact us. We're on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. Feel free to reach out to us. And we might take a 5-minute break and then come back with our next guest.